Hi, Paulie here. So, many years ago, I was in the UK, and the wargaming community there are really welcoming. They are true British eccentrics. I love them forever. These are my people. And I was introduced to a sort of a home-brewed system that a chap had done, and he'd brought out these wonderful war games rules that he'd published himself. Now, this gentleman sadly has passed on. However, in tribute to him, his son and many members of the gaming community in Britain have produced those rules that he had done, which was so popular in the community, as a communal game. And they've reprinted them, and I would really like to share these with you. It's called Pony Wars. This is taken from an actual photo. So the originals were these little books, which mine don't survive. I was very pleased to be sent this because I actually knew the gentleman who made these, and a gentleman indeed. Now, as I've said in other videos, colonial period war games can be a bit of a pain in the ass, low tech, high tech. The subtext of this is Pony Wars. B-Troop ain't coming back, and that's the whole feel of this. Now, this is actually a nice piece of entertainment. Now, they're very apologetic in it because they say this is supposed to be a game of sort of classic 1940s, 50s Hollywood US cavalry versus Plains Indians. So they do apologize for the lack of sort of realism in some things. They actually shouldn't. This is actually a really nice game. It's actually very respectful to the Native Americans, because these guys are quite likely to kick your ass. And this is where this game excels. It's a club communal experience. It's for you can play it just as sort of, you can play it solo, which I really like, but you can play it as like a convention experience or a club experience. Everyone plays US cavalry, and there's a mission generator where you get missions, and those things seem so simple, but the Native Americans, which in this case to say these are one of the Plains tribes, they are generated and kind of run by the game's system, and they complicate those missions. So there are combat factors for cavalry, for US infantry you can have, for armed civilians, for kind of less well-armed civilians, Indian scouts hired by the cavalry, and white scouts hired by the cavalry, and combat factors for the Native Americans, mounted and dismounted. What they do is they have a card system. So this comes with a really nice deck of cards. It's huge, and this has some random generation. It's a pretty simple system in its way. What you do is when it's the cavalry turn, cards are drawn for what's happening at the moment. Now, these actually generate Native American war bands. Now, the table edges are divided into zones. It randomizes kind of where these guys come on. But then, depending on what is actually happening on the table at the time, it has a lovely system for generating what these war bands do. You have a set range at which you can hear cannon fire and gunfire. You have a set range at which you can see things. If you're on high ground, you can see further. So these Native American bands turn up, and their activities change depending on whether they can see or hear enemies in action going on at the time. If they can't, then they get these things. They might start moving in set directions looking for trouble, or they might find another Native American band and join it to make a larger, more dangerous group. So these guys are moving around with actual purpose. They've also got essentially a series of achievements that they're looking. They want to they want to overcome enemies and so on. They also want to do things like steal horses and these sorts of things. When they get to a certain level of achievements, a band will pull off, and when it's pulled off, it's kind of replaced by another one, because as they get to camp and so on with achievements, or as they meet other ones coming in, it actually fires up other groups to outdo them, so they get more dangerous as they have achievement, because people want to outdo guys who come back with, you know, way more points. So what looks like a series of simple missions for the cavalry: get in there. You've got to get into this area. You're told that some Indian warbands have broken out of the reservation. You've got to move these settlers out of this area pronto and get them off the board. That's made quite difficult. The native bands are face to face in a skirmish. They're not. They don't have quite the firepower of the cavalry, obviously, and the cavalry guys are quite dangerous because they've got pistols. So once you get to closer range, they can actually put up a fair storm of fire. So, but the Indians are quite good, sort of hand to hand if they get in amongst you. But again, the pistols make that difficult. So, but the Native Americans can move really fast, and they can do lots of hidden movement. But one of the things is, as these bands move along, as they sweep through different territories, those territories become dangerous. So as you set up the board, there are passes and there are high ground and hills and bolts and things. If you have sent your scouts, as you know, the US cavalry, through these areas and cleared them, then there's no ambushes and whatever in them. But if you take them out of observation, and if Indian bands have been through the area, that now becomes a place where there can be ambushes. So if you move through it, you are now liable to be, you know, attacked with surprise. So what are your choices? Well, peel some guys off to keep watch. As long as it's under observation, they can't sneak guys in there, but now you're starting to peel off small groups and so on. So lots of resource management. And so look, in the end, this is designed as something where a group of people can have a good game together. Or, you know, you can play solo, which I don't see a lot of, but it's a club game. This is a group experience, a thing where a group of friends play this thing. Now, there are some really nice sort of miniatures out for this. You can get 28mm ones in lead, you can get 15mm ones, which were what these were originally for. But one of the gems is, of course, these were designed so that you could play them with good old FX plastics, and there are still to this day US cavalry and like Sioux Indians and so on done as plastic sets. So this is a great introductory game for kids. If you wanted to get and players on a budget, you can get into playing this for very, very little money. You can get some plastics and paint them up, and boom, you know, you're playing. And these are absolutely hilarious rules. They were designed to be entertaining. They are. They've got cinematic feel to them. So again, if the cavalry are defending areas that are flammable, like, you know, they're defending tents and stores and wagons and so on, when Native Americans are firing on them, because we all know Native Americans fire flame arrows because Hollywood tells us so, there is a chance that these places catch fire and so on. You know, so these are the cinematic areas they apologize for, but it makes for a fun game. And ammunition is very important for the cavalry guys. Everyone has very limited ammunition on them. You've got wagons which have replacement ammunition stocks, and you have to use those resources very, very wisely. What the cards do is they bring in not only native warbands, but they can bring in rescue and reinforcement for the cavalry. They can bring in supply wagons and so on to help them out, or they can bring in additional bits of mission that you have to damn well complete. There's some nice bits in this. There's one card I really like was the drums. The idea is that, right, the drums are going, so the Native American cards now, they're not played as you draw them. You roll each turn to see if the drums are still playing, and you just pile these Native American cards up, and when the drums stop, these guys all come in one huge force. So the tension kind of builds. Tidal waves coming. Quick, get stuff done quickly before these guys come thundering in. So, look, I played many a game of these in the old homemade printed copy period of these. The new production is full of gorgeous photos of people's collections. There's, you know, wonderful sort of terrain they've made from bits of cork and so on for passes and so on. Cool for Cats will probably be playing in your head all the time you're doing this. The Indians and signals from the rocks above the pass. But yeah, we've got lots of nice battle photos and so on done. Obviously this is way swanker than the original. They've laid it out far better. They've used, you know, modern graphics to make the thing way more readable than the original. And, you know, they use actual photos to eke it out. But this is the original rules. They didn't change them. They said this is a homage to the original players and the original creator, and they've done this out of respect and they've done it out of love, and I think it deserves that respect and love. Look, if you're a gamer and you just like occasionally playing miniatures, if you're a war gamer who really loves playing miniatures, take a look at these. I love this. This is a work of love and respect from a community for one of their own, and I give them nothing but love for that. That is a beautiful act to have done for one of your own people, treasuring their legacy and bringing it and passing it on. This obviously created a lot of joy for a lot of people, and they want to make sure it keeps doing it. So I'll put all the links to finding this down below the video. Take a look at it. It's a really nice piece of work. Like I said, very, very respectful to the natives, because unlike most colonial things, these guys are brutal. You know, the native guys are run as clever, and they are going to give you an incredible run for your money. Like I said, Pony Wars, B-Troop ain't coming back. Go and check it out. It's a really worthwhile buy, and it doesn't take that much to make the miniatures to play it. Cheers.